InvestFest was built in Atlanta. Its audience is heavily Black. Its culture is unmistakably Black. And now a statement from one of its founders has people asking a bigger question. Is InvestFest even a Black event? Because this line set off a whole conversation. And I think everybody might be arguing over the wrong thing. This is capitalist activists, where consumers become owners. Willie D and political commentator Tezlyn Figaro have jumped into the debate over comments from Earn Your Leisure about InvestFest Atlanta and whether the conference should even be characterized as a Black event. And I understand why that language hit a nerve, because InvestFest did not emerge in a cultural vacuum. Earn Your Leisure built a massive audience talking about investing, entrepreneurship, wealth creation, and financial literacy. And a huge part of that audience is Black. Then they took that audience to Atlanta, one of the centers of Black culture, Black entrepreneurship, and Black economic life in America. So when people hear the words, it's not a Black event. Some people hear something else. We needed Black people to build it. But now that it's successful, don't call it Black. But I don't think that's necessarily the argument Earn Your Leisure is making. There is a legitimate business argument underneath all of this. When a corporation sees a mainstream conference, it may see marketing, customers, revenue. But when that same corporation sees a Black conference, suddenly the conversation can become diversity, community outreach, DEI. That is a very different pot of money. So if Earn Your Leisure is saying, don't treat our audience like charity, treat them like a valuable consumer market, I agree with that. But here is where I would challenge the framing. The problem is not calling InvestFest a Black event. The problem is believing that calling something a Black event makes it less valuable. That is the conversation I want us to have, because Black consumers are not a charitable cause. We are customers. We are markets. We are revenue. We are buying the sneakers, the subscriptions, the tickets, the cars, the phones, the food, the entertainment. We help create corporate value every single day. So if our consumption can create that much economic value, why should our Blackness have to disappear before corporations recognize its full worth? But there is another question. If our consumer power is strong enough to build platforms like this, how much of the value do we actually own? That is the next evolution. Not just respect us as consumers, but recognize us as owners. Because consumption creates leverage. Ownership turns that leverage into participation. So no, I don't think the most interesting question is whether InvestFest is a Black event. The more interesting question is this: why does corporate America sometimes need something to stop being perceived as Black before it recognizes its full economic value? And even beyond that, what happens when the consumers creating that value become owners of it? If you want more conversations about ownership, investing, in economic power, like this video and subscribe to Capitalist Activists. Because we don't just invest to make money, we invest to make change. Capitalist Activists. Own what you consume.